Washington Post had an article that I read today that said that there's a significant portion of Americans who, if the next presidential election in 2020 were delayed or postponed by the president or Congress, they'd be okay with that. I know. And I said, well, but these are like these foundational principles, and we misunderstand them. So the City Club of Cleveland, since 1912, has grappled with these sorts of things. In 1915, before the United States entered the war, the City Club had invited a former German colonial minister, whatever his title was, to speak at the City Club. And then the day before his scheduled speech, the Lusitania was sunk. And people were calling on the City Club to cancel the event. How dare you allow a German to speak at this moment, they said. And the City Club, the board met, the board decided, no, we're going to do this. This is what we stand for. And they advised the speaker, listen, don't mention the Lusitania, it won't go well. But before the speech could begin, and there were about 500 people in attendance at one of the large hotel ballrooms, somebody shouted out, "What about the Lusitania?" from the back of the room, a heckler. And people erupted, and then the City Club members, the leaders among the City Club members, shouted everybody down and said, "We are here to hear this man speak, and then to ask him questions, and to challenge him if necessary." I don't think they said all of that, but that's basically what they implied. And then he spoke, and it was an important speech, and people remembered it. And that was the moment that sealed the City Club's commitment to freedom of speech. But we've been tested in many other ways and in many other times as well. In the early 1920s, I think it was about 1923, the City Club had extended an invitation to a man who had been a presidential candidate and a man who had been in prison, Eugene Debs, the noted socialist. And the board president at the time was apoplectic. He could not stand the idea that the City Club podium would be given over to an avowed socialist, and he threatened to resign. Debs ultimately heard about that and wrote a letter back to the City Club, kind of reversing his decision to accept the invitation, politely declining and saying, I don't want to be the cause of your organization, a rupture in your organization. And so he declined. But that remained, and it remains today, to be a kind of a stain on our history, that our leadership was unable to countenance somebody with a differing point of view to speak. And that was, somebody who was shaping public opinion, somebody, in the 20s and in the teens. Socialism was a very, very important, perhaps even more important than it was during the Sanders campaign, as a political ideology. In 1967, George Wallace was invited to speak at the City Club of Cleveland. And City Club members, particularly those on the left, were also incensed. And they protested. I found these pictures on the Cleveland State University website yesterday of this protest on Short Vincent Street, across the street from the theatrical. And so they're right in front of the City Club, all these City Club members with with signs. And this was back in the day when, if you wanted to do a sign, you painted it, right? There weren't magic markers, inch-wide magic markers or whatever. There wasn't Kinko's, right? You were getting a big placard, nailing it to a stick, and marching with that thing. Well, and across the street from them were twice as many onlookers. It was like the Republican convention last year. You remember there were 8 protesters, 27 police officers, and 200 of us watching at every moment on Public Square. But and then right across the street was all these people watching what could be going on at the City Club today. Well, at 5 minutes before the program was supposed to begin, those left-wing City Club members put their signs down and walked into the room and sat down and listened to George Wallace speak. And that is the sort of thing that it takes, right? That is the sort of thing that doesn't exist today at all, hardly, except for places like the City Club and some college campuses that are pushing back around academic freedom and pushing back and trying to create a climate in which people can have debates and conversations across difference. This is a set of skills that as a democracy we've lost sight of and we've lost touch with. And there's a lot of reasons why, and we can discuss that too if you want. There are people far smarter than me who are talking about and researching why this is the case. But the reasons why aren't as important as the solutions. The solutions are pretty simple: that we listen more, that we pay attention, that we choose our words wisely, that we respect people, that we operate with civility, and that we all understand what civility means. Civility isn't just politeness in my book, and I think it's important for all of us to sort of think of a definition of civility, write our own definitions for civility, because it is so important. For me, civility is being as interested in other people's opinions as I am in expressing my own opinion and acting like it. It's not just being polite, because politeness isn't always going to win the day. And you can be polite without actually listening, as we all know. Thank you. Well played, sir. I teed that up for you. Well played. So over these 107 years now, 105 years at the City Club of Cleveland, we've had these opportunities, and we continue to rise to the occasion to protect freedom of speech, to create our own practice of embracing freedom of speech, to put freedom of speech alongside productive civil, civic dialogue, and see how far we can get. And that's meant that we've had, that Ronald Reagan became the first sitting U.S. president to speak at the City Club in 1988, and every president since has spoken. We've got 3 years to find out if the current office holder will accept our invitation. But he was invited the day after the election. I wrote that invitation and sent that invitation myself.